works. Were you just checking to make sure? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Knowing Rita.
Just checking to see if I was awake. Oh.
Here he is.
Did an update today on the some. Yeah, it was the first time that actually. Yes. Just now, let me choose from two different days, Thursday or this morning. And I've never seen you do that. Oh. Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I welcome you to this evening's special meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please prepare for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, please be with us now as we meet together. Inspire us in our thoughts and deliberations. Allow our decisions to be wise and practical. With your help, we will achieve success. In Jesus' name, amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Member Olson?
Here.
Member Barentine?
Present.
Member Cuesta?
Present.
Member Martinez?
Present.
Member Wink?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell?
Present.
All 6 members are present.
Thank you. We're going to move on. Agenda item 5, District 1 vacancy candidate discussion, actually is on here by mistake. The resolution sets forth the reasons that we're moving forward, so we are going to move on to agenda item 6.
Point of order.
Yes?
This is on the agenda now. It has been since Thursday evening, and I don't see the purpose for which it would be removed now.
I did not put it on the agenda. I called and asked why it was on the agenda. Are there any other council members that called and requested this? Okay. Councilmember Barentine?
I think we established last time that a special meeting has to be one item. We announced this at the last meeting that it would be, during the council meeting, that it would be that issue, this one issue. And that is, I believe, the open meetings law. But in any case, that's what we cited this for when we presented it at the council meeting last time. So I don't know why there are 2 issues on there anyway. Okay. That is not what was noticed during the meeting, so I'm a little confused, but whatever.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Cuesta?
I believe there is confusion. This was not noted at the last council meeting. It was brought up through an email. This was never discussed at a council meeting. This was all done through email. This was never brought up at a council meeting.
No, actually it was. Actually,
point of order. Point of order.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I didn't mean to get into a discussion with him.
The Councilmember Cuesta is right. It came up in an email. And the email stated a couple of items. You were the only council member that responded to
Correct.
that email. According to the, and I actually responded to the email and asked that the resolution to set a special election be put on the agenda. No other council member that I'm aware of asked for this, and either the mayor or 3 council members by request can ask for an item to be put on the agenda. So it's actually on here by mistake. Councilmember Olson.
I don't know if you were you finished?
Please.
So I am really confused. First of all, we're not supposed to be making decisions by email, so I do not respond to emails at all because that is what I've always been told within the legal bounds, that we should be careful about responding. So I did not respond. When I saw this, I thought, I think this makes total sense that we would have a discussion. Are we not supposed to discuss a number of things around this to decide about the funding and whether or not this is going to work and whether we want to continue in this vein? We had a huge switcheroo that happened a week ago, and we've not really talked about it. Matter of fact, that evening we had a conversation and it got truncated.
Actually, we can't even talk about the funding for this evening because that is not on the agenda. Whatever is on the agenda is the only thing that can be discussed at a special meeting.
So when did you understand that this was wrong on there, and did you talk with the city attorney about it at the time to say, hey, why is this on here?
I actually spoke with the city manager earlier today, and I asked him if other council members had called to request it being put on the agenda. He said he was not aware. No council members called him.
So what's the legal bounds for this? Can we talk about anything other than, is all this is tonight is making a decision on the resolution with no conversation outside of, like, whether?
And again, I think that this is an issue because I was out of the office last week and I couldn't work with the mayor on it. But there is, by your council policy, a single issue. The issue is whether or not to pass the resolution. If once you've gotten into the resolution, you want to discuss whether or not it's appropriate to pass the resolution, your reasons for doing that. That seems to me to be basically the same thing as this second item, which is whatever it is put there. But the issue is, should you or should you not pass this resolution? And there may be issues associated with that that you would like to discuss.
Thank you. So we can bring things up in the discussion, is what I hear you saying.
Councilmember Barentine.
At the end of the last council meeting, we made a decision to go ahead and have a special meeting. That happened at the council meeting. The other decision, back and forth with email, I agree with Councilmember Olson. That's not how we make decisions. But the clerk set the special meeting that we agreed to have the special meeting to set the election, and that's what this is for. Our policies state that it can only be one topic. So I'm just trying to stick to.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Cuesta.
This is put out to the public. This was put out to the public on Thursday evening. I picked this up on the way in. This is our announcement to the public of the things that we will discuss before them. I saw this posted on Nextdoor. I think for us to change course on such a very, very important issue and just not even discuss it is a disservice to the public. And you mentioned that's policy. We disregard policy all the time. As a matter of fact, it's the lowest level of what we can or cannot go by. So I see nothing that bars us from having this discussion tonight. We have made this announcement to public.
Actually, the city attorney just addressed that,
Yes.
that it can only be a single topic. And there was, actually, I think there was probably a myriad of things that happened this last week. City attorney was out of the office. I was gone for 3 days. And so I apologize. If some of this comes up in the discussion of the resolution setting, for us to have a special election, this is the last evening that we can set this special election. So, Councilmember Cuesta?
In the resolution I received tonight, it said we need to vote on that by the 19th, which is 1 week away. So unless I misunderstood it, this is not our last night to do so. And I can pull up the resolution now. I may have misunderstood it, but I believe we have until the 19th.
Do we have to have a first reading and a second reading? Is that the point? Oh.
If you guys have a different read on this, let me know.
Because that's what we were told at the last
Point
at
of
the
order.
council meeting,
Wait.
that we had to do this special.
Point of order. Do we not have to request to speak and speak when the
Yes.
presiding officer?
Yes. Thank you, Councilmember Wink. Is that all you had?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hopefully. We need it.
Councilmember Cuesta, were you finished?
Yes, to read it to you. City Council must enact a resolution on or before February 19th, 2018, setting a date for a special election. Today is the 12th.
If you are suggesting that we set another date for the special election,
I'm saying we don't have to vote tonight, is my point. We don't have to vote on this resolution tonight, which is how it was presented, and that's not the case.
okay. Thank you. Councilmember Barentine?
We were told at the meeting, at the council meeting, that we had to have this special meeting in order to do this. So where is the confusion? Because it seems to have come from staff then to us.
Okay, thank you. City Attorney, can you give us further direction on how we need to move forward on this?
I'm going to do my best.
Is your mic on?
Yes, it is.
I just can't hear her. Usually it's louder. Sorry.
I'm still getting over
There it goes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in order to act on a resolution, that has to happen at a special meeting. Because of the way state law is set, if the resolution to allow the special election is voted on after February 19th, the earliest you can have the special election is the end of July, which leaves the first district unrepresented for a significant amount of time. So the reason that you've been asked to look at this resolution tonight is, and to set a special election, is Monday night's your usual night to meet. So this is the night your special meeting was set to look at having the special election.
Okay, and I believe that our meeting is not till Tuesday, the 20th, because Monday, the 19th, is a holiday. So we either do this tonight, or we would call another special meeting later this week.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Martinez?
Thank you. Part of the email that we received was updated figures of what it might cost. I don't know if that information has been shared with the public, but it is significantly higher than we originally estimated. So I don't know if that changes any council members' thoughts on moving forward to a special election versus deciding amongst ourselves who that candidate would be. So I just want to make sure to bring that up because it is significantly different.
Right, and so, and those figures are not final either. Those were just things that came in from special elections for three other areas that have done them, and I think that we probably shouldn't be discussing all of this. Councilmember Olson.
That's what I was going to ask. Can we move into the next one then, if that's the legal way to do it, and have this conversation within the discussion after someone moves to approve it? Or are we not going to be allowed to talk about anything?
Actually, I believe that is the best way to address this, and as long as the discussion moves in a way that fits in. All right, so agenda item 6, set special election date by resolution. A resolution setting the date for the City of Inglewood special election for the election of a candidate to District 1 City Council seat. And actually, I'm going to read through this resolution, and then we will talk about it. A resolution setting the date for the City of Inglewood special election for the election of a candidate to the District 1 City Council seat. Whereas on January 8th, 2018, Joe Jefferson, representative of City Council District 1, vacated his seat on the City Council to accept the position of Inglewood Municipal Judge. Whereas Inglewood Home Rule Charter number 28 authorizes the remaining council persons to choose by majority vote a duly qualified person to fill such vacancy if such election is made within 30 days of the date the vacancy occurs. Whereas on January 24th, 2018, following an extensive interview and review process, the City Council declared an impasse on selection of a duly qualified person to fill such vacancy. Whereas, pursuant to Inglewood Home Rule Charter and the laws of the state of Colorado, the authority to fill such vacancy transfers to the electors of such district if the City Council is unable to select a replacement to fill the vacancy within 30 days. And whereas, to guarantee City Council representation to the citizens of District 1 at the earliest possible date and to act in accordance with the provisions of Colorado Revised Statutes 3110-108 regarding setting the date for special elections, the City Council must enact a resolution on or before February 19th, 2018, setting a date for a special election. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Inglewood, Colorado, that Section 1, the City Council of the City of Inglewood, Colorado, hereby establishes May 22nd, 2018, for a special election of the voters of City Council District 1 to elect an individual to serve the remainder of the term of the City Council seat vacated by Joe Jefferson. Section 2, the special election shall be held in accordance with the provisions of Inglewood Home Rule Charter, paragraph 14, and applicable provisions of the Colorado Revised Statutes. Adopted and approved this 12th day of February 2018. Is there discussion? Councilmember Cuesta.
City Attorney Brown, if 4 members could come to an agreement on a council member this evening, could we select that member?
I believe your charter says that you may not. That a charter is a document of limitation. Typically, the role of selecting representation goes to the electors being represented. The charter allows 30 days for the City Council to select an alternative representative. If within that 30 days the City Council has not selected their representative, I believe that the authority does revert back to the electors of the district.
City Attorney Brown, you can probably provide clarification for me. As I looked in definitions in the charter, Article 1, Section 7, day is not defined. There's many state agencies that use business days as opposed to calendar days. It seems that you've defaulted to calendar. Do you know that it's calendar and not business? Because we would still be within 30 business days.
While that's not defined, typically under the law, if a time period is between 1 and 10 days set by the law, that is business days. If it's beyond 10 days, the law typically reads that as actual days. Because that's how the law typically reads time periods, that's how I'm reading the charter.
And when you say the law, the Colorado statute is what you're referencing?
Colorado statute, all law. It's a black letter rule of all law.
So there, outside of funding, there isn't much of a discussion we can have tonight. We cannot select a member at this point.
My best legal opinion to you is you cannot select a representative anymore. The 30 days is over.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Cuesta.
I believe we should get to funding then, if that's the case. So in the memo that was sent out,
Now, what did you say just before that?
we should, in the memo that was sent out, the quote came in at $25,000 to $40,000 on the election, and then there were some selective cities there where it ranged again. I am very uncomfortable with an undetermined cost and an undetermined.
Point of order. Councilmember Cuesta, we cannot discuss that. That is not a set figure. I believe this will go out for bid. That was estimates given by different cities. We don't know the extent of all of those elections. And those are not final figures.
You bet. And that's what I'm citing as the problem, is we have an undetermined expense and at this point in time an undetermined source of funding.
And that could be Councilmember Cuesta, but at this point, we cannot go back and this council cannot decide on who the District 1 candidate becomes. So that is a moot point.
Understood. How are we going to pay for this election then? I guess would be a more direct question that I'm asking the council.
We will deal with that. We cannot deal with that under the agenda tonight.
I believe you just made the allusion that City Attorney Brown had made the indication that this is a broad subject topic, and we can discuss that matter as well, the funding.
Defining the scope of the discussion does fall within the purview of the chair. I believe that the issue before the council right now is whether or not to approve this resolution. If the chair and the body as a whole believe that discussing the cost is part of determining whether or not they're going to approve the resolution, that's your call.
Councilmember Barentine.
I agree with the city attorney. Unless the debate on how much, which we don't know, with the sketchy information that we have, unless the cost of this election would determine whether we would vote to have it or not, it isn't part of this particular discussion right now. We're just talking about this resolution on whether to go ahead and set this election, how much it costs, or whether we put it out for bid, or whether the information we have is sketchy or fully fledged out or not, has nothing to do with whether we vote to have the election. We cannot go back, and we need to make sure that we have the election, and then we can go ahead and have the discussion and put it on the agenda to get more information and find out what's going on with the cost of it. But it doesn't determine this issue.
Thank you. Councilmember Wink.
Thank you. City Attorney Brown, should the requisite number of members of our group agree that we want to include that discussion that Member Cuesta is asking for,
My answer doesn't change, and that is the question before you is whether or not you're going to approve this resolution. If, as a body, you don't feel that you can vote on whether or not to approve a resolution to move forward on the election without discussing the cost, then as a body you want to discuss the cost. If that isn't part of deciding whether or not you're going to authorize the resolution so the election process can get started, then you don't.
thank you.
Councilmember Olson.
This is again to the city attorney. What if this does not pass tonight? What happens next?
You'll either set another special meeting for another night this week and revisit this, or you won't discuss it again until next Tuesday when your next meeting comes up. The concern about waiting till next Tuesday to agree that an election is going to take place is the state statute won't allow you to have a special election. The timing pushes this special election back to the end of July, which is a long time to leave that seat empty.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote on whether to pass this resolution to set the date.
Excuse me, point of order. Do we need a first and a second?
Oh, yes. We need a
Done
motion.
that.
We haven't even moved yet.
Right. Councilmember Barentine.
If it's today, we can move the election forward. And if just that short period of time it runs up against something else that would move it out that far. And so that's why staff said you need to set this special meeting today, get this passed so that they can get the ball rolling and set it up, or we're going to push District 1 even further out without representation because we're going to push the election out. All right, thanks for the clarification. All right, that's all I wanted.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we pass the resolution for the special election for District 1.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Cuesta.
I will not be supporting this tonight. In my own personal life, I would not buy something that I don't know the cost of, and I certainly need to have that same care when dealing with the taxpayers' money. I think that we're giving ourselves a blank check here to spend whatever we like, and we have not determined that source of funding. I'm not comfortable at all supporting this, and I will not be doing so tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Martinez?
Thank you. I feel this process has been a little maybe unclear for some of us, so I just want to make sure I understand. So if we move to support this tonight, then we have a choice of dates, really, right? The 22nd, which is stated in the resolution. And if we don't pass this tonight, then it will kind of defer us to the next date, which is July 31st.
Yes, and the clerk would probably have the more exact details. I didn't bring my computer in with me. But the timeline is around the June primary. So it can't be, I think it's 31 days prior to or 31 days after. So there's a 62-day window during which we're not allowed to have a special election. So what we're trying to do is get this election process moving so we can hit before that window starts. And if we don't pass this resolution before Tuesday of next week, it automatically moves us back behind that window.
Sure. And there's no way we can decide because we've already passed that deadline for ourselves for the 30 days.
Can I ask a question right quick also? So if we move past this and we get into July, are we getting within 45 days of the general election, and then we could push it out even farther? Are we getting close to that?
I don't have my dates with me, I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
We'd have to have it by the end of July, the election, to not get within those dates of the general election in November.
Okay.
Mayor, you are correct. There is a very small window. Mm-hmm. If, in fact, you do not have the election in May, then it would force it to that July 31st date. You cannot go any further than July 31st, otherwise you would then become into the window of trying to reverse engineer the time for individuals to go out and get petitions signed, have that period of review and cure, as well as to get that placed on the November ballot. And so it's a very delicate window that we're talking about here.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Olson?
To me, this whole thing is a big, fat mess. And it is precisely because of what Councilmember Cuesta said that I'm in a mess with this in my head of figuring out. We did agree to this and thinking it was $9,000, and it's changed so drastically from that now that had I been told this was going to be up to $40,000 that first night, I would have probably pushed for us to have another week. I think Councilmember Wink is probably the only one here that had the foresight to say no that night, realizing we should have had another conversation. I think we've unfortunately been very careful about not saying anything about candidates, and in the process we just kind of, I will speak for myself, I just thought, okay, let's move forward and let the district decide. I have a hard time seeing how I can move forward on this, but I don't want it to be left open. So Councilmember Quest, I guess I have a question for you. If we have a cap and we know that it won't cost more than $40,000, would that be agreeable to you?
No, I find 40 too high.
Okay. So then what's the option? Because we would still have to go back. We'd have to still do it in July. We're stuck.
I think it's hard for us to seem merciful to the District 1 folks having a representative or not when we've put them in this spot to begin with. We could have chosen somebody already, and we did not, and that's just as much my fault as everybody bears blame on that, and certainly myself. So it's hard for me to say, oh, it might take more time when we've already put District 1 in a situation like that.
Thank you. Councilmember Barentine.
We didn't put ourselves in this position. It happens as a result of somebody having the opportunity to run midterm and leaving their term. We had an honest and I believe a very forthright disagreement on the appointment, and I don't think additional meetings would have changed that. Nor do I believe that the decision that I made was is based, and it's a right decision at 9,000, and it's a wrong decision at 20,000 or 30,000. It is the job of the city to do elections. It is a situation of this community electing a person midterm, leaving this position open, and then this council having a very honest disagreement on who to appoint for that, and then handing it over to the electors. And I am not going to take it away from them, nor did I ever wish to take it away from them. These kind of decisions are not coin flip kind of things that we should do. We took it very seriously. We used matrices, we used scoring. We came up with different things from the same, we all used some of the same scoring techniques and still came up with different answers. So I think that I do not wish to taint this with District 1. It is the job of the city to hold elections and to do this. It happened as a result of somebody moving out of midterm and a very honest disagreement on who to replace that person with. And I do not wish to go ahead and make this any more of a fiasco or circus for this, because we don't know the exact amount. We know we can't go back. We have to have the election, and to do anything that would delay this would be unconscionable. We just need to move forward, do the best job that we can, and let District 1 make their decision. I'll be voting for it.
I would like to share also, I will be supporting this. We did have a great discussion. We have great candidates. There is no way, we can't go back. The 30 days is gone. We need to move forward with this, and it's either now or later. We don't know the final figures. The final figures could be less than $20,000, so we're having a discussion over something that may not occur. And so I will be supporting this. Councilmember Cuesta?
Just to make clear, at this point for me, the issue isn't the cost. It's understood by, I believe, everybody that we do not know what the cost will be. It's where will the funding come from to cover that cost. And that is the conversation that we have not had, and we seem to be avoiding. And I don't understand why we would do that. I believe that the city attorney has given us the purview to do so.
Actually, city attorney, is it possible that we could talk about the cost during council member choice in the study session? Or is that something that we should wait till the next meeting?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. Because it doesn't, that's not the issue before us right now. It's whether to pass this resolution or not. Councilmember Berentine.
If we do decide to discuss the cost, I just wanted to know if we're going to be able to have any more information. We have no more information than we did 5 minutes ago in order to even discuss it yet. So I'm not.
That is actually right.
I would disagree with us discussing something that's all speculative at this point. So.
Okay, and I actually agree. Thank you. Councilmember Martinez.
I just want to say I will be supporting this only because I don't want to push it out any further for District 1 residents. I do wish that we would have extended our discussion last week about where the cost would come from. We had an idea it might be more, and I wish we would have spent more time on that. So for those reasons, I will be supporting this tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Wink.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Olson, for remembering my negative vote to move to a special election. My point at that time was that I thought Member Barentine said that we had all come together and made our decisions. Some of us used the methodology in the matrix, some of us chose not to, but my suggestion at that time was that we had a little bit of time before that 30-day window, and perhaps we could have enabled the citizens to engage by having maybe a debate forum among those final four and have the citizens pose questions. I thought we had time to have one more opportunity, maybe put it in the citizens' hands to contribute toward our decision. Nevertheless, that didn't happen. At this point, I fundamentally want to vote no, but I will be voting yes in order to move the process along, is my point.
Thank you, Councilmember Wink. Councilmember Cuesta.
And again, I understand the cost is undetermined. It's the funding that I'm curious about, not the cost. How do we pay for that cost? Just so that we're clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Olson.
I just wanted to reiterate that that's what I heard from Councilmember Quest. It was not about how much or, stuff that we don't know yet, but we have shut down the conversation about where it comes from. And I don't know what I would like for us to talk about tonight in there too. But I will. That is the reason why this is difficult for me. I also, other reasons as well, just maybe the process got shortened in ways that probably we should not have, and I take ownership of that. So I will vote yes, because we have really no choice tonight but to do what's right for District 1, and we can't delay this any longer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Please vote.
All votes have been cast. Let the record show. 5 ayes, 1 nay being Member Cuesta.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. We will adjourn this meeting, and we'll have 5 minutes, and we will meet in the other room for a study session. Thank you very much.